Yep, I'm recording.
All right.
Woo!
All right. I guess we should probably do intros now, shouldn't we?
Yeah, probably helpful.
All right. Let's get to the 20 timestamp.
Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to the newest episode. I am, of course, the goddamn Bat Sam, and here on the Endless Library, we go above and beyond to support our fans. In fact, we have our one and only fan on the show with us tonight.
Hi, guys.
Hello, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Ivy. I've been mentioned on the show before, and so I guess that means that there's literally zero audience for this particular episode.
Quite probably. Actually, no. I lied when I said you were our only fan. You were as of the last episode, but since I have gone back and checked the comments, and evidently there's one guy.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
There's a single other guy.
Yeah, there was one other guy who made a comment.
One other
Yeah.
guy, so you're no longer our only fan.
Yeah. Okay. So hello, that guy.
What was that? Hello to that guy. This was on WordPress. He is Henry Chamberlain.
Hello, Henry.
All right. Well, we'll do a Pandermonium for him later on in the show. But for starters, tell us a little bit about yourself. What have you been watching lately?
Well, lately I've been watching the shows that we're going to talk about today, including Be Cute, High Earth Defense Club Love, and Ninja Slayer. And I've also been binge watching a lot of Dexter because that's the way I roll.
God, I need to get caught up on Dexter because I own the first season. Back pre-Netflix, I bought the first season, loved it, and then life happened, and I never got on with it.
Yeah.
Then it came to Netflix. I got like 5 episodes into the second season, and then nothing.
Yeah. You really should catch up. I mean, it's so crazy. I mean, just
You know what?
super crazy.
There's too much to watch. I'm watching all the things.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I've been doing a lot of editing recently, and so a lot of times I'll have something on in the background that I know or isn't too complicated. So I basically rewatched the entire current season of Dragon Ball Z Abridged.
There's a Dragon Ball Z abridged.
How did you not know?
No, I'm actually. Although I mean, pretty much yaoi is the extent of my knowledge of current anime.
Just lots of yaoi.
Just lots of yaoi, yes. So yeah, I didn't know. So they've made the battle scenes shorter because if you did that, you'd take away like 90% of the show.
Well, first off, that's like half the point. But second, they redub the whole thing and they make it a comedy.
Oh.
But it's pretty popular. I know there's actually a ton of abridged series out there now. There's like Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged, Hellsing Abridged, Attack on Titan Abridged.
Oh, is this like a YouTube series thing or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, yes. This sounds like something I should definitely see.
Well, what makes the abridged series work so well is that they actually stay pretty damn faithful to the source material.
I bet there's Sailor Moon abridged as well.
Oh, I guarantee there's Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
But yeah, what makes DBZ Abridged work so well is, first off, the guys they have doing the voices do a really damn good job of imitating the ones that Funimation put out for the dub.
Oh, yeah.
And they actually stay pretty true to the tone of the show, because they cut a lot of like the yelling and the posturing, which, like you said, is about 90% of the runtime.
And then just kept the rest and made the comedy out of that.
Pretty much. Well, the thing, like most of the characters, they're themselves with their exaggerated version of themselves. Like Goku is still he's still good-natured. He's just stupider. Vegeta's even more of a posturing asshole.
Yeah, I think that's the way that comedy works best, at least to me, is when it you have something that's already kind of silly, but then you make it into this ridiculous, over-the-top caricature, and that just always is the best for me.
Absolutely, but the thing that really works is they keep the serious scenes that are plot necessary. They keep them serious.
Oh, really?
Like, they still have that same weight. I think it's like 2 episodes past the most recent one. You've seen the original series, right?
Yeah. Well, Yes, I when I was in middle school slash early high school, I would watch it on my local TV station at 6 in the morning before going to school. So
I see. I know I first found it. I watched it at my dad's like Saturdays before school, or not before school. I'm sorry, like Saturdays, because it used to be at like some weird ass 6 a.m. time slot
yeah,
on like I want to say like WB.
yeah, that's exactly it. And like then they would have Sailor Moon after that, and I'd always be pissed because a lot of times I'd have to leave like before the episode was over.
God, I hate that feeling. But then it got kicked over to Toonami, and that's where I watched most of it.
Oh yeah, I used to watch Toonami before I'd go to church, way, way back when I did that.
And I remember I was hanging out with DJ Kyber last summer, and we actually realized that between the two of us and our DVD collections, we could recreate a Toonami block.
That's awesome. You know,
It is like
at one point
I'm looking at my shelf right now. I've got DBZ, original DBZ. I've got Cowboy Bebop. I've got Tenchi, and I've got Gundam Wing.
but you hate Gundam Wing. Why do you have
I
it?
do hate. Well, I didn't know I hated it until I owned it.
Oh, I see.
Because,
Okay.
because the story goes, all my friends in school really liked it. My parents were like, no TV during the week, so I could only catch one episode a week, maybe. So I had no idea what the fuck was going on, but I just assumed I couldn't follow it, and it was secretly awesome. So I saw it in a thrift store, and I picked it up. I thought, oh, this is going to be great. I can finally go back and watch this show. I've got to be smart enough to watch this show now. And I'm watching it and just keep thinking, like, wait, does this suck? Oh, God, maybe it'll get better. No, it's not getting better. It's getting worse. It's getting so much worse.
Oh, I know that frustration of starting on something you think is going to be awesome and then it just continues to suck.
All my friends lied to me. It was Kingdom Hearts all over again.
Aw, you don't like Kingdom Hearts either?
No, I don't like Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts and Gundam Wing, to me, they share a lot of problems in that they're both very superficial, where there's a lot of like sparkly things going on to distract you from the fact that nothing of consequence is actually happening.
But Kingdom Hearts has a
They
good
do a thing.
excuse. It's Disney.
It is Disney, but they both also have this thing where they make the plot really complicated and they think that's making it good when really all they're doing is making a mess of a plot.
Yeah, that's fair criticism.
Yeah, I really don't like this idea. Well, it's complicated, it must be good.
Yeah, and there are some TV shows that I guess I don't know, they just threw too many darts at the dartboard or something, and it's like, you guys, you've got too many threads going on here. You got to close up some of these. And so like I mean, I know Vampire Diaries is not supposed to be any kind of a good show. It's a soap opera, but at the same time, as it keeps just going and going, the plot becomes this enormous lumbering juggernaut behemoth of a thing with so many different threads in it that it's like I have no clue what's going on anymore.
Pretty much. I will say, though, I do love Futurama. I'll always go back and rewatch Futurama pretty much anytime I can pick up some Futurama. And that's got a lot of plot threads, but because it's a comedy, they play pretty fast and loose with it, and since the writers are obviously not taking it very seriously, then I and the audience don't have to take it too seriously when there's inconsistencies or if a plot thread doesn't get tied up.
Oh yeah, and sometimes they lampshade the inconsistencies too. It's sort of like oh yeah, remember when this happened? No. Well, it did.
Because time travel.
Right. But yeah, Futurama, one of my favorite shows on television ever. I still rewatch it pretty regularly.
Yeah, I've been rewatching a lot of it with my wife because I've got a couple of shows I want to start on, but the stuff I want to watch and the stuff she wants to watch are often like pretty different because we have a lot of shows in common we like. We both really like Dexter, we both really like Angel, but then there's stuff that I want to get into like Walking Dead that she just doesn't have the stomach for, so I have to watch it alone. So if we're together and we just want to pass out on the couches because we both work an insane amount of hours. This is the first time I've sat down all day and not been working. I woke up at 8, and I've been working since basically until we started recording.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband, he's really into travel shows and food shows and all of that and documentaries. And so I end up watching way more of that stuff than I would normally watch on my own. Um, because then I just sort of throw my headphones on and do something else on the computer or something like that. But, well, at any rate.
At any rate. All right, so I guess it's about time to get into the things we've been watching. Which one do you want to start with?
I guess we can go with, well, let's start with Ninja Slayer.
Fucking love Ninja Slayer.
Oh my god, it's so crazy. It's like the people who made Kill la Kill just discovered Adult Swim and binge watched it, and they were like, oh my god, this is the thing we need to make our anime out of. Because the animation style is just this sort of like they cut out the characters and then just moved the cutouts around to attack each other.
It is. Well, it's basically, I'm imagining that behind the scenes, somebody took a bet that they could make the most gorgeous animated series ever and then not actually animate it. Because there's not a panel that doesn't look awesome, even when they do, because they bounce back and forth. Because sometimes it's basically, you know, the things you had as a kid where they were like a felt background with stickers you could pick up and put on it again. That's the animation. That's the whole thing, is just them moving those things around. And then there's other times where they'll just, you know, they'll do like the Speed Racer thing where they'll just loop something or just drag the camera across a still. But every once in a while, usually at the climax of every episode, you do get an actual fight scene, but they actually animated it.
Yeah, though it's still, I mean, it's still not anything special as far as the animation. And I almost want to look into the production info on it. Like, did they, like, want to cut costs in the animation of this so that they could, like, keep it in Japan and not outsource it to Korea or something? That's kind of the impression I get at times, but...
One of my favorite things about this, though, is they use a technique where we'll link to the show. It's all on Crunchyroll, and so is our other one, so we'll put links down below so people can see what we're talking about. And I'm sure you noticed this, too, where it looks like they drew a character, and then they did a cutout, and then they put that cutout over that metallic patterned paper you see them do origami with.
Yeah.
That was really cool. That shows up pretty frequently. And then that will actually move with the subject, which is really, really cool, and I love that effect.
Yeah, and I mean it's a very interesting watch, too, and it's so funny. It wouldn't work if it wasn't funny, and the dialogue is definitely very amusing. I love the whole thing of everybody has to introduce themselves, and then the opponent must then reciprocate the introduction and the greeting. But
yes, and then they have to do a death haiku.
Yes. And then, and then whenever the ninjas die, and it's that crappy computer explosions thing.
Yes.
That just, I mean, I was dying, cracking up so much watching this. And it makes about as much sense as Kill la Kill did in as far as the plot is concerned. Though I think I'm about...
You know what? Kill la Kill actually makes a lot of sense. It's weird to explain, but it has a very consistent internal logic.
Well, yeah. Though, I mean, even Kill la Kill makes fun of itself. By the time you get to the end of the show, you have characters who are saying, but that doesn't make any sense. And then the other characters say, that's kind of what we do around here.
Yep, it's basically Gurren Lagann, but with clothes. Or not clothes.
Sometimes clothes, sometimes not.
Alright, let's back up a little bit. Anyway, Ninja Slayer, since probably not a lot of Americans have heard of it, it's the newest series that come out from the guys who did Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill, and it's called Ninja Slayer. And at first when I heard the title, and I thought, is this about someone who slays ninjas or a ninja who slays things? because the same problem I had with Ninja Assassin, where it could be either. And then Ninja Slayer solved this problem by making it just
Y-
both, where he is a ninja whose sole purpose in life is to hunt down and kill other ninjas for revenge.
Yes.
And
I
all
thought that was clever
that's all you
too,
need.
the way that they solved that ambiguity very nicely.
He's just a ninja who kills other ninjas.
Indeed. And the the plot, I guess, though, this particular ninja is actually like possessed by a soul of a ninja that calls itself
Right.
Ninja Slayer, and that's part of why he is what he is. And
Right, because he was just some dude, and then evil ninjas killed his family and almost killed him, and then the evil ninja spirit was like, well, you want to kill a bunch of ninjas? I can help you kill a bunch of ninjas.
yep, pretty much.
And then he turns into a ninja, and then he just punches guys until they explode, or throws ninja stars at them and then makes their heads fall off.
And the other characters are the villains that he comes across that he defeats, and they are also all very funny and based off a lot of crazy caricatures and stereotypes of ninja anime. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely worth watching for that comedic factor.
Absolutely. And then you actually do meet other ninjas along the way who are the same deal, where they were normal people and they need to take revenge on ninjas, and so ninja spirits will possess them and give them ninja powers.
Yep. So yeah, definitely give it a watch. I'm excited to see where the rest of the plot is going to go, because I'm about 7 or 8 episodes in, and it does actually seem like they're really going somewhere kind of interesting with the plot. At first, I wasn't really sure that it was actually, going to actually go anywhere, that it was just going to be craziness all the way. But no, it looks like they're actually going to, do something interesting with the plot.
Well, Gainax, or I guess their trigger now, they have this habit of making you think their series is dumb, and then by the end they sneak enough actual substance in there to catch you off guard.
Yeah.
Because I saw that with Gurren Lagann, and it's pretty much a straightforward. Every episode can be summed up with: dude runs into monster, dude jumps into giant robot to fight monster. If he's losing, he does a manly speech, and his drill gets bigger, and he kills the monster with the bigger drill. Repeats, and that's like the first 10 episodes.
He does a manly speech, and his drill gets bigger.
Have you not seen Gurren?
No, I haven't. I've only seen Kill la Kill.
What? No.
Apparently, I have to go and check this out
So
now.
you're not sleeping tonight. After the podcast, you're gonna go watch Gurren Lagann. Yeah, because they do with Gurren Lagann. But by the end, there's some really smart. There's meta commentary, and there's some affecting character sacrifices. And by the end, it really does sneak up on you that it matters to you. And then in Kill la Kill, which is a show about an army of nudists who try to fend off an invasion of sentient alien clothing, because that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, though mostly it's sort of, I think Kill la Kill is a lot more about the characters than the overarching plot. Though I get,
Well, it's about characters, and you've got a little bit of class warfare in there, and then there's this whole mentality, like how technology can divide the different classes, and how going with the grain can kind of brainwash you, and none of it's subtle at all.
though I will admit that I didn't think a lot about the things that they were really commenting on in the show until I did a little research and listened to or read some of the other commentary that other fans had to say about, I guess, the point that the show was trying to make. But yeah, it's definitely very interesting.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure Ninja Scroll is going to sneak something in there. Because, like I said, Gurren Lagann had some messages by the end. So did Kill la Kill. That was about, like I said, class warfare and a couple of other things. And Fooly Cooly. I don't
It's
know the
been
fuck
many years since
Furikuri's
I've seen
about.
Furikuri, but I had no idea what was going on through the whole
You know what?
thing.
I've seen it start to finish 3 times. I can't tell you what it's about.
Yeah, that's pretty much the way. I mean, I was glad I had watched it. I didn't feel like I had wasted my time or anything, but I still just had no clue what was happening.
Right. Well, I know right now anyone listening who's also seen Kill la Kill is probably screaming about the puberty allegories, because the show regularly features a boy who's a teenage boy who, when he feels awkward, usually in a sexual situation, a giant protrusion will grow on his forehead until he reaches maximum awkwardness and it explodes and turns into a giant robot and/or monster. Which the puberty allegory is obvious, but I'm pretty sure there's something else going on, but I don't know what. And I just want to shake the DVD, going, "Tell me!
Yeah.
You want to tell me something?"
And I feel like shows like this and other comedies as well. There's so much that I know that I'm pretty well informed. I mean, not great, but pretty well informed about aspects of Japanese culture, and language-based puns and that kind of thing. But I know that even I am missing so much that is hidden, into various layers of this satire. And one thing I miss, did you ever watch XL Saga by any chance?
I've seen like 2 episodes of XL Saga.
It's another very crazy comedy. But the brilliant thing that I thought they did on the DVD release for at least the first 5 episodes that I have on DVD, they had a pop-up video option. Did you ever watch pop-up video on VH1 way back when? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's how I watched it, because a friend of mine had the DVDs, and we just watched them at his place.
Yeah, and that pop-up video option was so awesome. That they could just point out various things that you might have missed or explain various references and puns and everything. And I loved that. I really did. I thought it was a great way to... I mean, it does sort of... You have to constantly pause to, read the pop-ups, but I really liked having that knowledge available to me. And I sort of wish that they could do that with other shows, like with Ninja Slayer, or with...
Well, I don't think you really need the extra commentary with Ninja Slayer, so long as you know that... So long as you've seen, ninja tropes and anything else, you're gonna be able to get most of Ninja Slayer.
Yeah, that's true.
I think one of my favorite scenes in Ninja Slayer is you get to the episode where he has to fight the guy with the I-beams by moonwalking.
I'm trying to remember. By moonwalk.
Right,
Oh, yes, he has to go back.
Yes, and he has I-beams that can brainwash you.
Yeah.
And so in order to counter this, he just moonwalks at the opponents. He's like, well, can't get me if my eyes aren't in the back of my head, and he just Michael Jackson moonwalks over and then just
Yeah, I mean, of course, that's the perfect solution to... If you can't look at him, then
makes
just
as much sense as anything else in
fight
the show.
backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say favorite new show, Ninja Slayer.
Well, as much as I enjoyed Ninja Slayer, I have to say my favorite new show has been on Cute High Earth Defense Club Love.
Right, and does that bring us into the second half of the anime double bill?
I think it does.
Okay. God, I'm so wiped. I feel like I'm a terrible host right now.
Aw. No, it's okay.
'Cause it's been crunch time for me on another project, and so I've barely slept in about... Basically, it's now Thursday at 11:46. I've barely slept since Sunday night.
You could have slept instead of doing this with me,
Nah, it's cool, because if I don't do it now, because I'm planning I've got a big shoot going on this weekend. I'm going down to Columbus to do some stuff for another project, and I'm gonna be gone until Sunday, and then my schedule is pretty much booked solid from there.
Holy crap. I guess we're having a bit of a hiatus for this show for a while, huh?
Nope, the show will be on as rambling and as incoherent as I am, the show will go on. I don't know. Maybe I'll let intern Kyber just do a couple of solo episodes, or he can call up one of my other co-hosts.
Yeah, that's true. Though we would miss you
He
as
has
the
been demoted from DJ to intern, so I'm not sure if he's allowed to host. So I think he needs someone else. It's like getting your temps when you're driving. He needs somebody else to watch him while he hosts.
right. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So anyway, next show is the title that I can't say
It's
because
Cute High Earth Defense Club Love, and
yeah,
it's a huge mouthful. In Japanese, even, it's a huge mouthful. I think it's
everything's a bigger mouthful in Japanese.
yeah, but the funny thing is that it doesn't seem like such a horrible title because with kanji it makes it much shorter to actually write out. So, like you've just got
So what is the Japanese title of the show?
Sorry?
So what is the Japanese title of the show?
Let's see. Binan Koko Se something Boo Love. And so but it's only maybe it's less than 10 characters. And so if you think about that, I mean less than 10 letters to actually write it down. And so I think that's kind of what they go by for when they've got a title. Like, it doesn't really matter if it's long, as long as it's got, with kanji, it can be so much shorter to write it out. But at any rate,
Right, you know what? Like I watched the first episode with my friend. Actually, I recorded the last episode when Robin and Kyber were over, and then we watched this later that night after we went out to buy some drinks. And I hadn't had enough to watch this show. I'm just like, I'm not enough booze. I need more. All right. So anyway, premise of this show. We watched the first few episodes, kind of get a taste for it. Premise of this show is basically if Sailor Moon, it's Sailor Moon, but it's all dudes, and that's basically the one joke of the show.
There's actually a lot of jokes in there, but yeah, I mean that's basically the idea, and the crazy caricature of the whole magical girl genre. I mean, it's so over the top as far as the transformation sequences and the names of the things, like Battle Lovers, and they have to say
the team is called the Battle Lovers, and they were recruited by a talking pink space koala who gave them magical bracelets.
The love bracelets, yes.
The love bracelets.
And they have to say love making and kiss the bracelet in order to do their transformations.
They do.
And
I was watching this with Kyber and Robin. Like, was that intentional? Do they know what that means?
Oh yes.
They have to know what that means.
I'm sure that they do.
It's not just some weird English translation.
No, this was intentional, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, basically, the entire series is just a tongue-in-cheek takedown of the magical girl genre.
Yes, entirely. And the other thing about it is, I guess, that it is marketed strictly to a particular subset of anime fans, and that
is that subset.
Yes. I told my husband, like, I feel this show understands who I am as a person. It gets me and gives me everything that I want.
Well, I remember watching it and was like, is this porn? Did I find somebody else's porn?
No. But they do all hang out in a public bath, and
right, because it's 5 gorgeous dudes with the pink koala, and then they undress for the transformations, and then they all hang out in a bathhouse, and they go to an all-boys school.
Yes. And actually, surprisingly, the first 2 episodes are not very much with the gay jokes. Like, they think, well, I guess it's gay enough, the way that it is.
But then the third episode happens, and then that makes up for it.
Yes, completely. I actually watched the first two episodes, and I told my husband about it, and he's like, "Yeah, that sounds really gay." And I said, "Well, yeah, but really, the only thing that could make the show better for me is more gay jokes." So, and then they delivered. Like I said, this show gets who I am as a
Holy shit, did
person.
they deliver. Right, because I watched up to the third episode, and I watched that one last night, and the premise for the third episode. All right, tell me if I get any part of this wrong. There is a monthly pretty boy contest at the all-boys school, and the head of the ballet club, who thinks he is the most fabulous boy and deserves to win the contest, is distraught because he doesn't get enough votes to win, so a group of evil dude Sailor Moons, along with their evil pet green space hedgehog, turn him into a black swan monster who makes all the boys fall erotically in love with him in order to stop procreation so they can take over the world.
Yes, I think.
Did I get any part of that wrong?
I think that covers it. Yeah.
This is what the red states are afraid of. Like, I just want to take this down south and just show this to some redneck. It's like, yeah, them gays wanna do. I don't know. I'm too tired. I'm too tired to make fun of the deep south right now. That's really tired.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't try to show this show to any of my neighbors or anything.
Right? Because I'm like, because I feel like they've seen all the dumb shit America does, and like, oh, what is this? What you're afraid of? Ballet is gonna turn all of your dudes into gay guys, and then they just won't procreate, and then aliens can take over the world. Because right now, there's a guy, there's some evangelist, a problem televangelist somewhere, who thinks this is the gay agenda.
Well, I mean, actually, I did, in the wake of the Supreme Court ruling, I did read some commentary that somebody was like, "Oh, now everybody is going to get gay married, and nobody will procreate, and the world will end."
I really hope that was sarcastic.
I don't think it was. I think it was serious.
Because they do realize that we're still going to have the same number of gay people, and that the ruling doesn't actually turn anyone gay. It just means that they can actually be their unions can actually be recognized by the government, so they can do things like, see each other in the hospital, or leave an inheritance or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think they do realize this. As far as I can tell, these people live in a perpetual state of hysteria. And I don't know that actual facts can penetrate their ironclad armor of hysterical hyperbole.
I think Jon Stewart said it best during the 2012 debate that he had with Bill O'Reilly, where he said that America's far right lives on Bullshit Mountain.
Yes, definitely.
It's a land where it's the 1950s, but not the actual 1950s, but the Leave It to Beaver 1950s, and all the gays and the minorities are trying to take over the world, and climate change isn't a thing, and just anything else that party is doing at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because I've always thought of myself as a fairly moderate person, but sometime in 2008, the conservatives just went off the goddamn deep end.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep a level head, especially because you can't have a disagreement without being a traitor to America.
Right.
And but the surprising thing is that for all of this crazy gayness in this show, Japan is kind of ambivalent as far as gay rights are concerned.
Right. Yes, we can't. Yeah, you're right. We got on talking about politics. We can't talk about politics. We need to talk about the magical boys and their heart-shaped wands that they use to fight monsters.
Yes.
Important shit like that.
Yes. And the audience that I guess they're going for is I guess what some people call fujoshi, which means bad girls. Like they're not what a proper girl should be, is the connotation of that word. And I think that pretty much goes towards either unmarried women who are like older than they should be without being married and have cats. And
This show is direct marketed towards Japanese crazy.
yes, exactly. And bored Japanese housewives who, like, I don't know, long for the passion of youth that they would never experience. Though, of course, I'm part of that subset, so I totally get it. But the crazy thing is with this show too is it's crazy the number of puns they put into this thing, which of course fly totally under the radar in a straight subtitling of the show. For example, the names for all of the people that they change into the monsters on each show, their name is a pun that has to do with the monster that they become. So, like, for example, in the first show, they have this discussion about oden, which is a Japanese stew, and it has a lot of different kinds of ingredients in it. But one of those things is called chikuwabu. And the guy that shows up later that they turn into the chikuwabu monster, his name is Chiku Kazutake. And Kazutake is made up of kanji where you would normally expect the kazu to be read wa, and you would normally expect the take to be read bu, so that his name would be Chikuwabu if you just looked at it and weren't thinking about it.
Sure. Yeah, I totally got that too.
So I guess the thing that I wonder about this show is, did you ever see Ghost Stories?
Right, you sent me Ghost Stories, and I watched the first handful of episodes.
Yeah, and there was a show called Ghost Stories that in Japanese was called Bakemonogatari, which is a totally different show. This one in Japanese is called Gakko Kaidan, which literally means school ghost stories. And in the original Japanese, it's like totally played straight. There's not a lot of humor in it or anything, but when they dubbed it into English, they just took the dialogue as a vague suggestion and just made it into a completely different show. Like, they had a Jesus freak character and a Jewish kid and, you know, all this crazy stuff to just make it funny for an American audience. And it was kind of directed to a totally different group of people. And
Right.
I feel like this show would really benefit from a treatment like that. Where if they like dubbed it over into English and then just kind of made a lot of American jokes over the animation going on. What do you think?
I can see that, although I feel like it plays off a lot of tropes from the magical girl genre. My favorite joke was that when they tried to record them while they were transformed, for the magical space technology that gave them their powers makes their faces look like a mosaic blur, and it scrambles all of their
Yeah.
so no one can actually tell.
The whole face and voice changed for privacy on crime shows thing, like
Exactly.
we're not going to reveal this person's identity, so their face has been pixelated and we've changed their voice.
Right. It goes back to even because I did see a few episodes of Sailor Moon as a kid because it was on right in this one time slot before after Dragon Ball Z. And then, when I think it first came on when I was 5, so I kept watching it because I was 5. And my dad still makes fun of me for it to this day because I was 5 and I watched this show. So I knew that. I knew a lot of people are like, well, who are the Sailor Scouts? I have no idea. When they, there's nothing. There's no anything. Like, they're not even doing, like, the Nightwing, I'm not even trying, I've got the dumb domino mask.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, like, how do people not know who they are immediately? And it just doesn't make any sense. So I thought it was funny that for this show they like had a legitimate reason for that.
Well, one big difference I've noticed between like American comic book heroes and a lot of Japanese shonen heroes is that in Japan they almost never bother with a secret identity.
Yeah, and I've wondered about that. And it might make some sense if because to some extent Japanese society can feel very dehumanizing. You're just part of a crowd and you kind of can disappear into it without ever having contact with anybody else. And it would sort of make sense as a trope if that's kind of what they were going for. But for the most part on these shows, the characters who are the superheroes are really outlandish normal people as well that you would definitely notice in a crowd. You know, they're not like just ordinary people who could slip into society and go completely unnoticed. They've got like long blonde hair that they put into these buns, that is immediately recognizable. So,
well, you know what? In Japan, it's basically this mentality of if it's worth doing balls out over the top.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Or I think that's just the stuff I've watched because I've not been to Japan, but I've met some people from Japan. I've done a lot of stuff with them when I was in college, and I do get exposure to the culture outside of anime. And from what I can tell, the culture itself is very like if you were to meet people on the street, there's very much this air of this subdued air about them, and I feel like they kind of get their catharsis out by doing these batshit insane like movies and television.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would agree with that. And especially I think it's sort of like there's a very repressed public self, and so your private self becomes that much crazier, I guess.
Right. And then you get stuff like this.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's a wonderful system.
It is. I was watching this show, and I know a complaint a lot of people have with anime is that they say, well, it's too complicated. And between watching stuff like this or Kill la Kill, I can't help but think, like, yeah, it's complicated, but I'm pretty sure it's meant to be complicated because that's kind of the meta joke that they're going for.
Right, yeah. This show is definitely not complicated.
Well, like, explaining it, though, like, if you were to try to explain this to a person who's never seen Sailor Moon so they don't get the joke, try to explain the setup where a bunch of boys at a boarding school get magical powers from a pink koala alien to fight monsters made from just stuff around the school.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, it would be pretty confusing if you had never been exposed to magical girl anime at all.
Right, or even Kill la Kill, because the easiest way I could sum up Kill la Kill would be what starts out as it's a high school where the uniforms give you superpowers, but then it breaks down into the nudists fighting the alien clothing.
Right.
And it's one of those things where I hate explaining geek shit like out in the wild with people who may not get this.
Yeah, 'cause
not because I don't think that they'll understand it, or I think it's like beneath me to explain it to them. Just because I know I can't explain it without sounding like a crazy person.
Right. I actually, as a child, tried to tell my mom about Dragon Ball Z. And I told her about, there are these magical Dragon Balls, and when you collect all 7 of them, you get a wish. Because, that's like the original plot of the thing, right?
Right, well, that's going back to Dragon Ball.
Yeah, and my mom, the lovely woman that she is, says, well, if I was a dragon and you had all of my balls, I'd probably do whatever you said, too.
Yep. There you go.
And then another time I was telling her about the Sailor
Translate
Scouts
Japanese.
and their powers, and Sailor Venus's power, one of her powers is the Venus Love Me chain, and she goes, "So is that something all the scouts
Shit, I
do
dropped my mic.
together, or?" Yeah.
Well, I fucked up the audio. I dropped my mic. Sorry, everybody who has to listen to this.
Oh, it's okay.
Did you pick up any like weird sounds over there just now?
I don't think so.
Okay, because my wave is all jacked up. Oh well. I don't have time to edit things. Ah, fuck it. I'll give it to DJ or to Kyber's an intern now. I'll have him edit it.
Yeah, maybe he can sync all this together and do some after editing and stuff.
Well, right now I've actually got him working on some other stuff for the show, and we'll see
Oh, yeah?
how it pans out. Yeah. Anyway, you okay over there?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Like, is there a train going by or something?
No?
All right. Well, it's gone now. Anyway, yeah, I've just learned never to watch shows with my family because they would. Because my dad made fun of me because that one time I watched Sailor Moon when I was 5 and I didn't know any difference. I was 5, but he actually loves Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
Yeah, my dad got really into Dragon Ball Z, but he got into it like when they started putting it into reruns, so I was ahead of him. So I'd be like, well, don't get attached to this character. But then it gets Dragon Ball Z, so literally at the end of every story arc in the show is them getting the Dragon Balls together and just undoing whatever the villain did, just erasing any stakes the show.
Right, yeah.
And then there was one point where I was actually laid up in the hospital as a kid, after I had basically like a sports accident. I was on a scooter and I wrecked myself. And I had Cartoon Network in my room and I was watching Dragon Ball Z, and my stepdad was like, well, Japanese cartoons are still just fucking weird.
Well, to be fair, they are.
They are. But you know what? When you have an 11-year-old in the hospital and his one comfort is watching Dragon Ball Z, don't take that away.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it being weird. Definitely not. And kids should be encouraged to watch more anime. But, yeah, it definitely is weird.
Yeah, so there we go. We've taken about 47 minutes of podcasts, and we've come to the conclusion that some anime is pretty weird.
Yep. I think we've done our work for the night.
Well, no, because we still have one segment to do, because we have to do Pandermonium.
Oh, yes, Pandermonium.
Pandermonium for Mr. Henry Chamberlain.
Do you know anything about him?
Hello. He actually, I requested a list of topics, and he says, I'm reading the comments from the website here. I'll just go with my gut on some favorite topics. Anything to do with time travel is always fun, whether it's a favorite book, movie, or TV show. This segues well to anything to do with the original Twilight Zone. Here's another good one. Compare your favorite novel with a movie or TV show adaptation. I'm working on a post all about Frankenstein. Now there's a subject. If you have any room left, you can pick out an unsung hero or misunderstood creator. For instance, should people know about H.P. Lovecraft that they likely don't know? Hope this contributes to another good show. I'll be listening. Thanks. Well, Henry, you're going to be very disappointed. We are both very tired and rambling incoherently. But he's speaking directly to my heart because I love the original Twilight Zone.
Oh, yeah. And I was so excited when it came up on Netflix. We watched a good bit of it. And then there was the episode with Shatner. And I was like, what?
Something on the wing.
Yeah, I mean, crazy.
Something on the Wing, that's one of my favorite episodes. And then there's another episode which I've got a story to go along with it. I was back in high school, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, and, we were kind of alone, and we were about to kind of do some of those things high schoolers do when basically we're just making out. And then we had the TV on, and it was a Twilight Zone marathon, and I made us stop doing anything so that we could watch the episode with the guy who wants to read but nobody lets him. And he locks himself in the vault, and because then nuclear war happens, and when he gets out, he's the only one who survived. But then he realizes that now there's time for his books, and he stacks all of his books, and he's so happy. But then he trips, and his glasses fall and break, and he can't read. And she's like, "What? This is stupid." I'm like, no, don't you get it? There was time now.
Yeah.
There was time.
And your girlfriend, I guess, didn't get it.
No, she didn't.
It's kind of classic geek behavior, though, where, like, the girlfriend comes and sits on the geek's lap naked, and he's like, "Hold on, babe, just one more round."
1 second, boss fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there we
I
go.
am...
High school Bat Sam will choose Twilight Zone over Girls.
Yeah.
Because he was that.
You had the choice. You could make the choice between...
I did.
You actually had the opportunity.
You know what?
That's the important thing.
Right, there is never, like, I did not regret it as it was happening. I did not regret it after it happened, and I stand by that decision. That was a really good episode, and I'm glad I finally got to see it. I stand by my decision.
Well, as far as time travel goes, I am actually a big fan of time travel media, plots. I really like them, but I also am always a little bit nervous about how it's going to pan out for how they treat time travel. Because for some books, or for some things, and the way that makes most sense to me is you've already done what you were going to do already. So you can't actually change anything, but you have to go in the past and do it because history is already played out as if you already went back and had done it.
Right, you have to make it happen.
Right, like if you've ever...
It hasn't happened yet, but you have to fulfill it so it can.
Right. I think Terry Pratchett has done it in his Discworld books that way. I think The Last Continent was one that worked that way, if I'm not mistaken. And then you have the ones where you actually can make changes and it really makes a difference. Like Looper was a very interesting movie, I thought. I know a lot of people didn't really like it, but I actually enjoyed it.
I haven't seen Looper, but a good example of those is usually video games, because I'm a big fan of the Legend of Zelda series.
Oh, yeah.
And so in Ocarina of Time, you have your mechanic where you start as a child, and then you gain the ability to travel 7 years into the future, and basically you get to go back and forth throughout basically like the last 2/3 of the game, you go back and forth. So, if something's kind of screwed up in the future, you can go back into the past to make it so you can do so it works in the future. There's actually one dungeon where you play the first half as a kid, and then you go into the future, and then because you've opened up a bunch of gateways as a kid, you can then do the second half of the dungeon as an adult.
Neat. Yeah.
They repeat the mechanic in Oracle of Ages, which is a Game Boy game that nobody played but me, and that's one of my favorite Zeldas, is Oracle of Ages. And at that point, there's an even bigger gap. There's a 200-year gap between the two different time periods you travel to. So you can do things like there's this guardian of the ocean is sick in the present, and they don't have any medicine, but you can go back in time and get the medicine for him, and then give it to him in the future. Or no, I got that backwards. You get the medicine in the future after he's died, and then you go back in time to when he was a baby and give him the medicine then to stop him from becoming sick in the first
Right.
place.
Another great classic game with time travel, of course, Chrono Trigger.
I have yet to beat Chrono Trigger. I'm 2 hours into Chrono Trigger?
This is it is a gap in your gaming education that you must fill.
No, I agree. I'm planning to fill it. I have it on completely legitimate copy.
Oh, really? A legitimate copy? All right.
Completely legitimate copy. I've got it, and I just haven't gotten around to beating it.
Well, there's one, although one of the things that I really like about Chrono Trigger is that the replay value, the way that they did it, was basically that you can, once you play through the game once, you can actually go and fight the final boss at any point during your next playthrough. And when you defeat the final boss drastically changes what the end is going to be. Yes.
Really?
And so one of the time periods in Chrono Trigger is like 65,000 BC or something crazy like that. And if you go back in time, or are in the point in the plot where you're doing stuff in that time period, and you go and defeat the final boss then, then you get this ending where it shows you scenes from the game, except that all the characters are lizard people.
Yes. Yes.
That's my favorite one. Yes.
Yeah, no, Chrono Trigger absolutely on my to-do list. Really want to play Chrono Trigger. Lately, I got a 3DS a couple weeks ago. I finally got my 3DS, and so all my gaming time has been spent with the 3DS.
Understandable. Lately, I've been playing Baten Kaitos, which, like, nobody other than
that's
me and my
the-
friend Paul have heard of, but it's awesome.
No, I have that game.
You do? Really?
Oh, wait, no. No, I'm thinking of Bacte.
Ah.
I've heard of Batten Kaitos.
Yes.
That's because I've read about it, because I had Nintendo Power, because once again, I was super cool. So I read about it, but I never actually got around to playing it. No, the game I was thinking of was Bacte, which was a super cool game on the Game Boy Advance, where you fought vampires with a solar gun, but there's a gimmick that the cartridge itself had a sensor that could detect solar rays. So if you would play it outside in the sun, your gun would do more damage, and you'd have more superpowers than if you were to play inside without any sun.
Wow. That's amazing.
But I was really disappointed because I bought the game and I was super excited, but I couldn't play it on my DS because the DS had the advanced slot underneath. It's on the bottom, which is usually not a problem, except when you need, with the sun panel on top, I had to like lay on my back and angle that thing up so that it could get sunlight.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So I had just moved into a new neighborhood, and here I am out in the backyard, stomach up at the sky, staring at this video game like a I had so many friends.
Well, you were at least able to have a girlfriend at one point.
A
So,
girlfriend, yes.
That's good.
Yeah, because no, I actually played this while I was dating the girl who I turned down for. You know what? I broke up with that girl a couple years ago. I grew up with a girl like way back in high school. I still love Twilight Zone, so really smart decision. Yeah, because I wouldn't even mind just steering the conversation back to Twilight Zone, because I could talk forever about classic Twilight Zone. One of my favorite episodes is one that doesn't get brought up too often. I think it's called Maple Street. And basically the premise of the episode is some stuff starts going screwy around a neighborhood, and everyone starts pointing fingers because they think that they start accusing their neighbors of, being the source of the problem, because, they're having a cookout, and little Timmy is like, look, the power's gone out, and then this weird thing is happening, and everyone starts to freak out, and they say, well, we don't see this guy, he's making weird noises at night, what's up with that? It's like, well, I've got a ham radio. What about that guy? I saw him walking past my house like every time. It's like 2 a.m. And he's like, well, I just get insomnia and I can't sleep. But what about what this guy does? And the whole neighborhood just tears itself apart. And at the end of the episode, you find out that there were aliens, but all they did was like basically flickered the lights on and off. They're really little things, and they just let the townspeople do all the rest of the work.
Wow.
And it's this lesson, which is one I keep with me, is that you really don't need to push people very much. Usually, if you just give someone the suggestion, their imagination can fill in the rest.
Cool. I don't think I have not actually seen that particular episode, but
You know what? I have the internet. Let me look up. Let me make sure I got the title of that episode right.
I'll definitely have to check it out. My husband and I finished up Criminal Minds, so we'll have to go back to watching the Twilight Zone.
Let's see here. Looking it get it up. The monsters are due on Maple Street, a peaceful suburban street. On a peaceful suburban street, strange occurrences and mysterious people stoke the residents' paranoia to a disastrous intensity. So yeah, it's this one, season 1, episode 22.
Okay. I will definitely bring it up. So what else did our fan want us to talk about?
Let's see here. We got to Twilight Zone. We got the time travel. And I gotta say, one last note on time travel. I'm so glad that Doctor Who came along and gave us the best time travel line ever, is that time travel is just a bunch of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff, and it's just the easiest way to explain any weird shit that goes on in a time travel story that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because it's time travel, something's gonna not be right. And at that point, you can just explain it away and go, oh, wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
Indeed.
And then I was thinking about time travel, and you know about multiverse theory, right?
Yeah.
It's the idea that you can't go back in time into your own timeline, but there's multiple universes, and you can cross into a previous point in time in a parallel universe, but not your own. So any changes you make will be in that parallel universe,
Right.
but not affect your own
Yeah.
universe. And that got me thinking, like, that really screws up the stakes in time travel stories, because yes, you had the guy come back to the future, you saved timeline A. Timeline A is safe from whatever thing that would have destroyed it, but it implies that there's an infinite number of other timelines where shit got fucked up and everything's wrecked. Like, we saved the one timeline, but the multiverse is fucked.
Yeah, it sort of makes me think about, there was this anime called .hack Sign that was about an MMO, but one of the characters says, where basically he, in the old school games where something screws up and you just hit reset, and he's like, but a part of me always wondered, what happened to the world that I just reset, where the hero died and then everything went to shit and nobody did anything about it because I was able to hit reset.
Oh my god, I actually was reading comics earlier today. It's a comic called Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal, and if you haven't read it, go check it out. It's really smart. There was one today. It's this woman sitting next to a graph, and she's saying, I had 2 men sexually interested in me, but couldn't decide, so I fired a photon through a plate that randomly reflects or transmits light. If it reflected, the machine summoned the first man. If it transmitted, the second man was summoned. With the lights out, I had sex with the man who showed up and did not observe which man it was. The caption says, the scientific community has not welcomed my quantum threesome concept.
Yep, that's a good comic. I have read a number of their other comics, and I definitely approve. And you should go read the other ones.
Well, because I've read those, and I like that the internet is giving us smart comics now. Because there's no way a quantum threesome comic is running in a newspaper.
Right.
There's that, and then XKCD. Everybody on the internet's read XKCD.
Oh, and of course, Cyanide and Happiness.
Cyanide and Happiness. That's a really good one. As far as... Well, I think my go-to example for internet publishing is Ogloff. Have you ever read Ogloff?
Oh yeah, you've sent me a few of those.
Right, and it is one of the smartest scripts I've ever seen, but it is also one of the absolute filthiest things I've ever seen ever. Weird animation.
It still cannot top Ghastly's Ghastly webcomic. That one was from the early 2000s. I have no idea if it's still running today, but it had a character that was a tentacle monster, like from, anime fame, and there would be these girls that would throw themselves at him, and he'd be like, no, I'm not into that, please just leave me alone.
That's actually really
And then there was Chibi Sue, a 40-year-old woman trapped in a chibi body, and she's like, she'd have the not actual hands of, chibi characters, that they just have these
Oh, where
little.
it just like comes to a little point.
Sorry.
Where it just comes to a little point.
Yeah, well, not even a little, but not a point like a ball, just a solid ball on the end of her arm, And she was like, it is hell to try to fucking masturbate with these things. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, you know her pain.
But, I mean, there's Drunken Bitter Jesus, there's Jihad Jesus, there's the 50s dad guy. There.
Are we still talking about?
Yes, these are all in the same
Okay.
comic. And they all interact with each other, and it is insane. You should definitely go check it out.
I might. But yeah, go check out Ogloff, because the animations, like the art's all really done well, but there's a lot of graphic sex. But usually the sex is part of a gag for the strip, and they're not lowbrow by the time you get to the gag. It was a smart gag that folds in a whole bunch of different things. It just happens to have a lot of penises.
Yeah.
And if you do read Ogloff, though, always make sure to let your mouse hover over the clip, and you'll get alt text.
You'll get what?
You'll get alt text.
Oh yes, uh-huh.
Yeah, because there's some comics will have them. I know Short Pact has it. I know Dr. Rick Ninja has it. I know Ogloff has it. Or if you hover the mouse over the comic and you let it go for a couple seconds, you'll see a little text box come up, and it's usually just like the file name, but a lot of comic creators will put stuff in there that's like a supplementary gag to the one that's already, or it's a supporting gag to the gag they already told.
Yeah, that was I think a much bigger thing, like in the 90s and early 2000s. And then at some point, at least I just kind of totally forgot that was a thing.
I've actually gone back and reread entire comics because I'd be like 2 years into a comic, and I would discover it has alt text, and I would reread the entire series from the beginning.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I
think I did that at one time, yeah.
I think I did that with Short Pact.
But.
And I know I did it with Ogloff. Dr. McNinja was probably too long to do that with, though.
But, back to what our fan wants us to talk about, though.
Alright, let's have a look here. So I think we covered time travel. We covered
Twilight Zone.
We covered time travel. We covered... Oh, crap, I lost the tab. There it is. So let's see here. Time travel?
Yep.
Talked about, so time travel and favorite book, movie, or TV show segues well into original Twilight Zone, so we got all that. Compare your favorite novel with a movie or TV show adaptation.
Oh boy. That's a tough one.
Well, the obvious answer at the moment, just go Marvel, because Marvel's knocking it out of the park right now with the movies.
I don't know if that's the same as a novel, though. I mean...
Well, I think he included comics, didn't he?
Well, maybe.
Am I just that burnt out? Let's see here. Favorite... I guess he does specifically say novel.
Well, my personal favorite is... I don't know if you were ever a Terry Pratchett fan, but I'm a huge Terry Pratchett fan. And one of his novels for Discworld, Going Postal, actually got a TV show made out of it. Like they had a 2 or 3 part miniseries or something, I guess. And it was on Netflix, and it was awesome. I loved everything about it. And that's really a rare thing to love, like a TV or movie adaptation of a novel you really like, because it almost never works out. But I would definitely recommend this one. Although Netflix has taken it away from me. The Netflix giveth and Netflix taketh away, I suppose.
Yeah, I know for me, Terry Pratchett occupies that same space where Chrono Trigger is, where I'm already sold on it. It's just a matter of taking the time to invest in it.
Yeah. Did you read The Hunger Games? And
I did read The Hunger Games.
did you watch the movies?
I saw the first two movies. I have not seen the more recent because it's four movies. Because since Harry Potter, every last installment has to have two movies because they can
I'm
make it
sorry,
up
you
with
cut out
money.
there for a little bit.
So you're cutting out. You back?
Yeah.
Well, we had some guy to fix this in post. Uh, yeah, well, because I saw the first one. I saw the first Hunger Games movie, and then I saw Catching Fire the movie, and then I haven't seen the last two because there are three books but four movies because since Harry Potter did it, everybody's trying to cut their last installment in half to get more money.
Yeah, exactly. Um
Actually, you know what? I will say Hunger Games, probably the first book was the strongest, and the second book was really weak.
yeah, I it was one that I was recommended to me that I read, and I really liked it, but it was a hard read.
Well, for me, it was a really easy read. I read them because my sister really liked it, and she said you should read this, and I read it so we could talk about something. And I did legitimately enjoy the first one, but the second one was easily the worst because the first half is basically just a recap of what we already established in the first book.
Yeah.
It's very much a matter of, well, all this stuff we did last book, now we're going to do it again, but just a little bit different this time. But they had a lot of potential. They had, all those, like, the cool returning champions from the other Hunger Games and all the alliances there. Like, there's a lot of potential there, and they just squandered all of it. And they're on this island that's actually a giant clock, and then at different hours of the day, different crazy disasters will happen that you got to deal with. And that was something they didn't really exploit as much as they could have. And then it ends on a complete cliffhanger just so it can lead into the third book, so you don't get an ending. So what you have is a first half that's entirely rehashed, a middle that does not live up to its potential, and an ending that completely leaves you hanging.
Yeah, and then for me I felt like the third book was sort of a lot of we're making this as horrible and sad as possible because realism.
Cry, damn you, cry!
Yeah. But as far as comparing the books and the movies, I knew some people who were huge fans of the first book, and I went to see the movie with them, and they were like, "Oh, this was so awful! I can't believe how horrible, how horribly badly they did this." Um, and I don't know, I think that I have some kind of special ability to take things as a movie and not as an adaptation of the book that I loved, and to try to just look at it from, does this make sense from a movie standpoint? Is it intelligible without the context of the book behind it? That kind of thing.
Oh, I absolutely agree, because I've seen some movies that are not faithful to the book, but the adaptation, or the changes they made, worked really well. Uh, Actually, one movie that does it better than the book was Fight Club.
Oh, yeah, that was, yeah.
Because I saw the movie, I've seen the movie a couple times. I love Edward Norton, he's one of my favorite actors. And I love Chuck Palahniuk, he's one of my favorite writers. But Palahniuk himself has even talked about how he wound up preferring the movie to his book.
Right, yeah.
It's not actually, it's very faithful, because I know a lot of the lines, like almost line by line, they adapted the script, which is really good. There's a couple of minor changes. I think one of the biggest changes, one of the biggest changes is the scene where Edward Norton beats himself up in his boss's office. That's not in the
Oh.
book.
And that is one of the best scenes of the movie, definitely.
Right, it's just Edward Norton kicking
Right.
his ass.
It's just so awesome. Yeah, and so I think there's I think that to some extent whenever you have an adaptation of a book, it has, in my opinion, it has to be an adaptation. It really does need to have some major departures in order to make it work as a movie or as a TV show, because it's just a different medium from a book. It can't be the book in movie form because books don't really work as movies. That's why they're not screenplays. They're books.
Absolutely, I can't agree enough. I'm all 100% in favor of changing something if it makes more sense in the medium that you're using.
Right. But if it's not an accommodation for the medium, if it's just a change for no apparent reason and it makes the story worse or makes it not make sense or something like that, then that's where I start having problems.
Right. Well, I know in Lord of the Rings, they actually switched a lot of stuff around for the sake of pacing, because I know fighting the spider happens at the I think in the books when they fight the giant spider, it's at the beginning of the third book, but they used it as Sam and Frodo's big finale for the second book or for the second movie. So they just kind of bumped it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, if it is for concerns of pacing, then I do kind of get that, because, I mean, again, it's a viewing audience and not a reading audience. But I'm trying to think of examples where it was done very poorly.
Because I'm thinking, because really good ones are coming to mind right now. I love Fight Club. Fight Club though is such a bro movie at this point. It has such it has this connotation of just this stereotypical bro guy movie.
Well, I'm a girl and I liked it.
But it's I have a tendency to try to distance myself from fan bases. So I love the book, I love the movie, but I will say right now I'm just really waiting for the adaptation of Haunted. If we can just get that as a miniseries, I will be happy.
I don't think I know that one.
You might be better off not reading Haunted. Haunted it's another Chuck Palahniuk book, and it's an anthology, and it has a framing story that there's a group of writers on a writer's retreat. They lock themselves in a dilapidated theater, and very quickly it breaks down from actually writing to how miserable of an experience can they inflict upon themselves so that when they get out, they can write the most harrowing memoir of it and make money and get famous.
Wow.
And then, yeah, that's the connecting story. And then, to give you an idea of the individual stories, the very first one is called Guts. And the premise is a guy basically gets his intestines pulled out through a pool jet.
Oh. I love horror movies, but I usually don't do the torture porn kind of movies.
Yeah, that's the first one, and then there's another one where there's a couple and they're a little bit down on their luck, and so they start trying to shoot porn, and by the time they get themselves all tanned and fit and ready to go and they watch it, they're so disgusted by the tape of the act that they wind up getting divorced. There's a woman who kills a guy by what's it the foot therapy. I want to say reflex.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she kills a guy with reflexology. There's one where there's a police station and they want to replace their dolls. The kids can be it happened here, and instead of getting anatomically accurate ones, they get anatomically correct ones, and things get really weird.
Wow. Though, this could really work because...
Don't read this book. There are two types of people in the world. Those who read Chuck Palahniuk and healthy, well-adjusted individuals who don't need to put up with this shit.
Yeah, but this could really work, actually, as a movie sort of following in the, I don't know, tradition of Jeepers Creepers or not, Creepshow, I think.
Creepshow or
VHS is sort of similar in that.
I would actually go, because there's so many individual stories in this that I would actually go Netflix miniseries with this.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, the idea of an anthology show of horror stories, it's been done, and so I think it could work.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what other...
Now, The Golden Compass, did you ever read that or see the movie?
I read the first book and I saw the first movie, and that's as far as I got. Well, there was only one.
Yeah, there was only one movie because that first movie was a spectacular failure.
But it has Nicole Kidman slapping a monkey.
I know. It seems like a slam dunk. It really does.
Like, that's all you need to get me into
Yeah.
the movie is Nicole Kidman smacking a monkey, and it's not a euphemism.
But somehow, the movie, at least to me, it just sort of came across as flat and kind of boring. Like, it just, for whatever reason, what they did wasn't successful, and I can't really put my finger on why.
I don't know. I saw it way back in high school, so I can't really remember much about it.
Yeah, this was a while ago for me too, but
I remember watching that terrible Beowulf movie with the same group of friends.
Oh yeah. I have not actually seen it. It has been on my Netflix queue for some time because I like to inflict bad movies on myself on occasion.
Oh, it's so, like, the animation is terrible. Because it's basically they rotoscope but with CGI, but everyone looks like a wax figure of the actor they're trying to portray, and it all looks really weird, and then they completely change the ending of Beowulf.
Yeah, it sort of seems like it would be better from an animation standpoint to either just have original animated characters or not.
No, it was a spectacular failure, and it's a shame because it had Anthony Hopkins in it.
Oh yeah, and
you gotta try to have a bad movie with Anthony.
And a lot of people hate on her, but wasn't Angelina Jolie in it?
Yeah, she played Grendel's mom.
Yeah, and I like her pretty well. But yeah, actors you like cannot save a bad movie. If it's bad, it's bad.
Right. Well, Anthony Hopkins is one of my favorite adaptations because he did a spectacular job with the Thomas Harris's Hannibal series.
Oh yeah. And I mean, are we including Silence of the Lambs there?
Right. It's well, the main trilogy would be in chronological order: Red Dragon, which also had Edward Norton in it, and is my favorite of the three, and then Silence of the Lambs, and then Hannibal.
And I think which one? Oh, and then there is Hannibal Rising, but I guess that's a totally different thing.
Hannibal Rising is a prequel where it's got Hannibal Lecter as a kid.
Yeah, that one was yeah.
It was
But Silence of the Lambs is such a classic. I mean, it's that's one that I go back to as far as horror movies.
yeah, Silence of the Lambs, although I will say Silence of the Lambs is absolutely phenomenal, but I do tend to prefer Red Dragon in both the book and the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like I can relate to the main character more.
That makes sense.
And then, actually, Red Dragon also had Ralph Fiennes as the villain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Voldemort, except he's not Voldemort. He's a dude who thinks he's possessed by a monster going out and murdering things.
Yeah. I was astonished when I learned who Voldemort really was. I mean, the actor, you know. Because then I watched The Reader, which is one of those la-di-da Academy Award-winning films that is totally effed up, which has that guy as a traumatized adult. So there you go.
So does that cover adaptations? I'm trying to think of any other ones. We could take it all the way back to Dragon Ball Z and talk about Dragon Ball Evolution.
I don't know that.
Oh, well, probably the less said about that. Alright, so let's see what we covered. We got time travel. We got Twilight Zone. We got adaptations to a movie or TV show. And now, we'll wrap it up with Frankenstein.
I really don't know much about Frankenstein other than it's the doctor, not his monster.
Yes, that is true. Well, for me at this point, I've read the book. I really enjoyed the book, and I know that Frankenstein refers to the doctor, not the monster. But we've hit a point where Frankenstein, the monster, has just become so ubiquitous that I don't fault anyone for referring to the monster as Frankenstein.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's sort of like um, archaic rules about English language and word uses that nobody pays attention to anymore. And
It's like who or whom, where I know that you might be wrong, but unless we're specifically discussing this or it's really vital to what we're doing, I'm not going to correct
right. Or can versus may. I mean, people do still correct a lot about that, but the vernacular has changed to where it just is always can, and it seems silly and pedantic to keep correcting people.
you. Yes. Okay. All right. So then, finally, let's see. If you have any room left, you can pick out an unsung hero or misunderstood creator. For instance, what should people know about H.P. Lovecraft that they likely don't know? So I don't know anything about H.P. Lovecraft.
I don't know a whole lot except that the mythos that he was a part of creating, which he was not the only one to write about it, um, but I can't call to mind who the other authors who also wrote about it were. But that whole mythos has become such a big thing now that it seems like it's worth knowing about. I'm gonna have my husband give me the cliff notes because he's gonna start reading a big Lovecraft collection here soon. He got a book the other day for it.
Yeah, well, fun fact, actually, all of H.P. Lovecraft stuff is now public domain.
Oh,
So you can find it in a lot of places for free.
awesome. I wonder if that's why
Yeah.
there's so many games now based off of, like, there's Arkham Asylum. Elder Sign is an excellent board game.
Arkham Horror. Arkham Asylum is the video game.
Sorry? Arkham Horror,
is the
yes,
video
sorry.
game. Not Arkham Asylum, because that's the Batman.
And then there's Elder Sign, which is kind of like the easier version of Arkham Horror.
God, I played Arkham Horror with some friends, and they're all really big board gamers, and and you know it's cool, but I don't have the endurance to play board games like they do.
Yeah. And that one is very
So
complicated. It takes a long time to play.
I think 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours. We've done
What?
this game in one go.
Wow.
We started playing it like mid-afternoon, and we played it into the night, and people started falling asleep, so we had to start playing in shifts.
Wow. Elder Sign is
So-
the simplified, easier version, and it only takes maybe an hour or so. So that might be one to check out. I've got a mounted plushie Cthulhu head. It's a plushie Cthulhu head on a plaque that I can put on the wall. Yeah.
Cthulhu, he's the littlest
Yep.
guy.
And I've at one time I had some Cthulhu slippers as well. His tentacles felt nice around my ankles.
Oh my. Yeah, I'm sure if given some time I could think of an unsung creator, because there's plenty of stuff where I just think nobody likes but me. But I'm having trouble thinking of anything that comes from a single creator, because last week I talked everyone to death about Fire Emblem and how nobody plays Fire Emblem but me. And then I'll go off and I'll find some weird shit, I'll go dig up Kamen Rider episodes from Japan.
Yeah, for me, at least the thing of the moment for me is Voltaire. He is a singer and author, and I guess he's going to be in some kind of low-budget film here soon as well. But he has some really great songs. He's been around for a long time. Check him out. He does goth comedy folk, I suppose.
It's a very difficult field to crack into. It's so crowded.
Yeah. But one of my favorite songs is When You're Evil.
Yes, I love When You're Evil. That was the first song.
Yes, wonderful stuff, for sure.
All right, Alright, so we're about to hit the 90-minute mark. I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Alright, we're set.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Get some sleep. Night.
このバカが
You count the levels 1, 2, and 3. Life goes on, anything goes, coming up, boom.
Hey,